If there's one particular type of weather that I do not like hunting in, it is wind. I would rather hunt in rain. I would rather hunt when it's thundering over my head. I would rather hunt when it's 25, 30 degrees on a cold spring morning, colder than normal, than to hunt on a 60-degree day where it's pretty and sunny, but it's just windy. I cannot stand to hunt on windy days. It's just not my favorite time. But with that said, I will hunt windy days every single day I can if the turkey season is open, because you know, we've said it before, turkey season is a very short season in most places, and so you have to hunt as much as possible. And if you're like I am, and like a lot of guys are, you hunt every single day of the season. So, you know, sometime during the turkey season, you're going to face and have to be faced with hunting a day when the wind is blowing 25, 30 mile an hour. It's not fun, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and there's a lot of things that can just mess you up when it comes to being successful. However, there's some things you can do that can cause you to be highly successful on windy days, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video, so you stay tuned. Windy day gobblers. Well, you know, I think a lot of it has to depend on where you're hunting at. Now, if you're hunting a lot of open places like, you know, Nebraska or Kansas or Oklahoma, a lot of you guys see this year after year where turkeys will, it just seems like they want to migrate to open fields, like maybe in the Midwest or anywhere in the United States where you have any fields, you know, like crop fields or anything. It seems like that's where they just want to kind of get to, because one of their senses are is you know, kind of taken away, and that's their hearing. So they want to depend on that great eyesight of theirs, which is their strongest, you know, strongest of all the senses. They depend on their eyesight more than anything. So they want to get out in the open places where they can see danger coming, and they want to get out there where they can really, you know, just see everything that's going on all around them. So it just seems to me like on windy days, I have more success getting out in the open areas. Just like on a rainy day, it just seems like they want to migrate to a field too. So I'll keep that in mind. If you're hunting in a place where there's a lot of fields, then that's kind of where you want to focus your attention at a lot of times, because sooner or later them turkeys are going to come into them open places. Now let's say you're hunting in a place where it's highly, you know, where it's highly dense timber, and maybe in the mountain regions, public land, whatever the case, then you want to get low. You want to get out of the wind. Hey, the turkeys want to get out of the wind, you want to get out of the wind. So you want to try to get as low as possible. So I try to focus on deep hollers. I try to focus on low places. Instead of hunting the ridge tops and up high, I get as low as possible, and that's where I want to focus most of my day, and trying to stay out of the wind as much as possible. Because hey, it's tough when you're out there trying to locate turkeys and even hear turkeys on them days, and a lot of times they just won't gobble as much. Now, on windy days, this is one of the biggest problems turkey hunters have, and that is locating a turkey. It's not that they're probably not gobbling, you just can't hear them. Or the biggest mistake a lot of turkey hunters make, and I've made myself, and many of you that's watching this has made hunting windy days, is you bump turkeys. You know why you bump turkeys? Because you thought that turkey was further than what he was. Because when you hear him gobble, you think, oh man, that's, you know, he's 200 yards, when actually he was probably only about 100 or less. It just sounded further in that wind. So it really can really mess you up if you start trying to go to that turkey pretty quick. So here's some of the things that I do on windy days, whether I'm hunting in the timber or whether I'm hunting in more open areas. Now, number one, I move slower. It just makes sense. Like I said, you're out there, turkey gobbles, you think he's further than what he is, and a lot of people will just, you know, they think, well, I'm safe, that I can just, you know, make a beeline and try to get where he's at. And what happens? you run into the turkey, and he, and the hunt's pretty much over for that turkey unless you find another one. So you bump the turkey because you just think that he's further than what he really is. So I want to move a lot slower on these days. I want to try to walk slower, even though that your sound of your walking is going to be covered by the wind. It's not really you're walking or making noise. It's the sight. They're depending on that eyesight. And so I'm going to try to move slower. I don't want to run to that turkey. He ain't going nowhere. If he's gobbling, you've heard him. He's not going to fly off. He's not going to go very far. You've got plenty of time. Tell yourself you have plenty of time to get to this turkey. Just start giving yourself a pep talk and a seminar. If you have to, I've got time. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to ease in here. I'm going to walk slower. I'm going to try to stay in cover as much as I can. So you want to move closer to where you thought that turkey was at, because he's probably closer than what he really sounds. Number two, I'm going to stay on a high frequency call. I'm going to either use a box call, which is what I pretty much use on windy days all day long. Of course, I like a box call anyway. This is my box call, this Matt Dell Signature Series old slide that we came out with last year. And one of the reasons we designed this call the way we designed it is to get that high frequency, and for these situations just like this, on them windy days where you really got to cut through that wind. And so this is one call that's just really, really good at cutting through that wind and really getting that sound to penetrate, and where other calls just may not. So it's built that way, and it's got a really high. It's got a high frequency that cuts through that. So I'm going to stay on a call like this as much as possible instead of trying to rely on my mouth call. Or of course, if you don't have a box call, then maybe you like a slate call or a pot call, then use a glass call, because a glass call is going to get through that wind a little bit better. So that's where I think that you just need more than just one pot call. You need a slate call, you need a glass call, maybe a copper call, something that can really get through that noise of all that, rustling leaves and all the trees are blowing and the winds are howling. You really want to get through that, and that's where these high frequency calls come in. So I'm going to stay on this call. I'm going to call, and I'm really going to just stay with them loud yelps, because hey, you got to get that noise out. You can't be calling. You can't be doing that stuff when the winds are howling. You got to really get that call out. So I'm really putting some pressure. And even though it may not sound as good up close where I'm at, out there it's sounding really good. So that's something else. So stick with a box call that can really cut through that wind, or maybe something like a glass call. Now, when I am hunting a place where it's open, like, crop field or cow pasture or hay field, places like we're talking about, I try to hunt the corners of the field on windy days even more. And I think, and this is just my opinion, and watching turkeys over the years and hunting turkeys, for many years, it seems to me like on windy days, turkeys just want to hang around the corners of a field more than say they want to come out into that field like they would on, say, a better day where the wind's not blowing, or it's a pretty day and it seems like they want to get all over the field. It seems like on windy days they want to hang right in the corners closer to that cover. And I think a lot of that has to do with, like we're talking about, they want to get out where they can see danger. They use their eyesight, but if they do see danger, they can dart back into the safety of cover pretty quick. That's just my opinion. That's just what I've seen. So on windy days when they're not gobbling, I'll set up in the corners of them fields, and I'll just start blind calling. Set up there, even if I ain't hearing nothing, I'll just sit there and stay on my box call, and I'll just start, I'll just start calling as much, probably a little bit more than I would, say, on a day when the wind's not blowing. Because, think about it. A turkey may be, 70, 80 yards down the hill, and he can't hear you, but he comes 70, 80 yards more in just a few, maybe 25, 30 minutes, he may be a little bit closer where he can barely hear you, and it may be that one time when he'll, barely hear you where he didn't hear you a few minutes before, and he'll gobble. And so I try to call at least, every 15 minutes or so. So I'm pretty much calling a lot more than I would, say, on a day when the wind's not blowing, because I'm trying to get a response. In fact, last year, the first turkey I killed in Virginia happened just this way. They wasn't gobbling. It was a terrible day, windy. It was 25, some gust was up to 30 mile an hour. I couldn't get out of the wind. I tried hunting in the timber. I tried hunting low. You couldn't escape the wind. But it was about 10 o'clock, and I mean, it was just physically beating on me. But about 10 o'clock, I went up to this little old hay field, and I sat in the corner, where I'd seen turkeys in years past, and I sat up there in that corner, hadn't heard a turkey all day, and I just stayed on this old slide call, this call right here. And every 10 minutes or so, I was just yelping, I was cutting, I was making as much noise as possible because you ain't gonna mess nothing up. And about 15 to 11, I guess it was, somewhere around there, one time he gobbled. And he sounded, like I said, he sounded a lot further. And, you know, a lot of people would have just got up and took off and said, well, he's way over on the other side, you know, down that holler, which he wasn't. You know, again, you just got to slow down. You got to make sure that you're being patient because you want to double check these turkeys on these windy days. Well, I just sat there, you know, I got ready, and I just kept calling. About 10 minutes later, he gobbled one more time, and the turkey actually was really close, and he come in that corner of that field like within just a few minutes later after that second gobble. Had I got up and moved when I first heard him thinking he was way off, I probably would have blowed the hunt because I'd had to walk across that field and he'd probably seen me. So I sat there and was patient, and he came in and I shot him about 25 yards and just a few minutes later. Of course, once he got up there, I switched over to mouth call where I had my hands free and I called him on in. But I killed that turkey because I set up in these corners and I just stayed on that call, on a high frequency call, and I was able to kill him. You can kill turkeys on windy days. You just got to tough it out, and you just got to stay on a good call, and you can be successful also. Well, we hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. Just hit that subscribe button down the link. I'd really appreciate it. Also, check out my Facebook page and like and follow me there. Also, my brand new Instagram page, we just started that last week, so come over and follow me on Instagram. The links will be in the description. Check out springfevercustomcalls.com where you can find my old slide box call that we've been talking about in the video. Also, my mouth calls, my Matt Dell Signature Series mouth calls. You can pick them up at springfevercustomcalls.com. Also, get you a Dell Outdoors t-shirt and support the channel here. They're available on the website as well. Check out DellOutdoors.com and check out SosoOutdoors.com. Check out them guys as well. Also, check out Spring Fever Custom Calls official YouTube page and Soso Outdoors YouTube page. We'll be linking their YouTube pages in the description as well. So go subscribe to them guys, and I know that they would appreciate it. Until the next video, we will see you really soon.